Here of September 10th, we'll start our meeting with the pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before you are the minutes from our August meeting. Are there any corrections, clarifications, additions? Or can the minutes be accepted as presented?
Accept the minutes as presented.
Second. Motion's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Treasurer's report. We'll see in the treasurer's report we have total cash available in the general fund, $354,290.29. Cash available in reserve account, $76,360.76. Total cash available in the fire tax account, $8,880.51. Total cash available in sewer fund account, $316,041.20. Total cash available in liquid fuel account, $322,788.50. If you go back, look at the bottom for our sewer loan balance. Our balance right now with the 2010 PNC sewer project loan is $25,021.73. We have a estimated interest, so the total amount would be $25,238.67. And the treasurer's report be accepted as presented.
So moved.
Sorry. Motion been moved and seconded to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Approval and payment of bills. Before you see bills from the general fund totaling $69,458.38. From the sewer fund, $18,871.66. And from the liquid fuels fund, $266.00. No bills to be paid out of the fire tax fund. Are there any questions about any of the bills or the payment, or can the bills be as presented, be paid as presented? Sorry.
I move we pay the bills as presented.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded to pay the bills as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Public hearing petitions. Did we have anything come in via the website? None coming in. Therefore, we'll move on to report of the borough engineer. Aye.
Okay, the only thing that we have on our agenda is Dustin Mann's timber harvesting plan. We reviewed the application that was submitted, the applications that was provided, that was prepared by Stoltz. It's a typical application for timber harvesting that goes to the conservation district. We do have a zoning application for timber harvesting that we forwarded to the applicant. We have not heard back from them on that. Our main concern is runoff from the hillside from the harvesting. And we have, I told the applicant that, we need to make sure that we have adequate controls in place.
Yeah, so just for your information, so he submitted a plan, sort of a hand sketch, and it looks like a couple tree limbs going out where they're going to put in what I think they're called skid trails.
Yes.
Which in my world means unimproved road, because a skid unit is about as big as a truck or anything like that. So the concern is that wasn't sort of discussed in his erosion and sedimentation plan for the building of his building. And I thought at one point there was a comment made that it was only going to be removing trees to put in the building, but we don't see that in the minutes anywhere. Maybe that was a comment asked and answered.
Testimony.
Oh, is it in the testimony?
No,
Oh.
they're not minutes, it's testimony.
Testimony. There's no collaboration of that thought in the testimony. But still the concern is if he wants to go ahead and timber, the conditions changed for his erosion and sedimentation plan that he has approved for the building of the property.
Well, it's not approved yet. It was
Right.
only submitted and went through the conditional use process. It was never submitted at this point that we know of to the conservation district.
So I asked a question to the conservation district. They typically are not required to approve plans for timbering because somehow that's an exemption under farm. And they have no jurisdiction to pre-approve plans for any type of work. However, if anything occurs anywhere in the county, and you get a runoff or stormwater or muddy water or something like that, they will respond to complaints like that, because that is within their jurisdiction. And you have to be careful at some point. Is it 5 acres? If you disturb around 5 acres, it becomes a NIPD's permit for construction
Well, I know that if it's greater than an acre,
at greater than 1 acre.
yes, then it's an NPDF permit.
Yeah, he would have to get an NPS permit.
That has to do with construction activities associated with stormwater management.
But I think what he said is, well, I'm only disturbing point something acres.
4-7.
Yeah, but that doesn't take into account, just because you took the road up there, you're not gonna go off the road. So you're gonna be disturbing other things, but that wasn't, so the trees aren't marked, so this is sort of all fuzzy versus someone trying to be very specific and understanding what's gonna go on. So I suspect there's gonna be more Mr. Mann's appearances at some point at the council, things like that. Any questions?
Well, his water management had diverting the water from the road into the wooded area
Right.
and using the wooded area to absorb it so it doesn't affect downstream. So,
And it's conceivable that now the water will be directed, it'll hit a skid path and now come straight back out to the road, or maybe who knows. So,
Typical design for a skid road is that you have a swell on that hillside and you divert it into a pipe that will discharge on a downhill side. And that's every so often. And I tried to explain to the applicant that you're creating a point source discharge. And that we have a problem with the runoff from the mountain at this time. And we need to make sure that the controls are in place.
so I'm unclear what's gonna happen, but I'm sure, as I said, I think the applicant will not be happy with whatever comes about. So that'll be some point in the future. Anything else?
No, unless you have any questions on my report, that's all I have.
Anything from council? If not, we'll move on to zoning officer code enforcement. Allison? Nothing? Oh, you think?
I just have notes on the bottom of it.
Oh,
There were 7 zoning permits submitted for right to know requests, 10 building permits, plumbing permits processed, and 5 pending since last meeting.
and all the right to know requests were from the applicant.
No, there's multiple right to know requests from different parties that I have received in the past month. All but one is answered with a 30-day extension. They want a register of all of our checks paid for 2019, which they will get
What should we get from the minutes?
they get the payables report.
Right, from
I
the-
just have to
yeah,
gather them
yeah.
all together and send them.
Right, I've noticed that there have been an unusual number of requests, not only here, but other places as well. And many are from advocacy organizations. I think it's because it's a very high-profile election year between presidential, congressional, and state legislative, and that may be what's behind some of these requests, because they're not from individuals for the most part. I mean, one from the applicant, Mr. Mance, is something different, but they are not from individuals who are residents of the borough, and they're not from reporters.
Many are from out of state.
Yeah.
So, Joan, we'll go ahead for your report.
Sure. I had reviewed, I see animal control is on the agenda. I had reviewed a proposed agreement from Safety Net, and Allison has my comments on that. I followed up, sent the letter to the Archdiocese regarding Atlantis on the Szymanski Stadium property. And I believe that is it.
All right, Mayor, any report?
I have 2 short pieces to relate to you. One's in the form of a wish, the other is in the form of a thank you. It's very disheartening in this 8th month of COVID-19 to see these daily increases in coronavirus cases and deaths in Berks County. There were 50 additional cases plus 3 unfortunate deaths just reported for yesterday. Wouldn't it be beneficial and uplifting if we could know how many lives have been saved by following the medical science recommendations? You know all of them: wearing masks in the public, social distancing, frequent hand washing, covering your nose or mouth or using your elbow for coughs and sneezes, cleaning and disinfecting surfaces at home and in the car frequently. I really wish there was a way to know how many lives have been saved during the most unusual time that we are experiencing.
Acknowledged.
Thanks to the residents of the 3900 block of Lynn Avenue for reporting the unsafe driving practices of some motorists in front of their homes. Borough Council acted very quickly to have 2 additional permanent black on white 25-mile-per-hour speed limit signs erected in the area along Lynn Avenue. Also placed in use is an electric speed sensory device which records motorist activities. As I've said before, remember, if you see something, say something. Respectfully, Barry Lindsay, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Budget and Finance. We have the tax collector audit from 2019.
Yeah.
We did not copy or distribute it because it's so dry. If you're really interested, we can. Oh, we did get that. Let's see.
The tax collector or the
Yes,
borough?
so-
Borough.
So once again, just to give a flavor,
That's
all
right.
government agencies are supposed to be doing their accounting to GAS 234, which means it's a special set of accounting standards, especially if you issue bonds. So that gives you an impression, is the municipality maintaining everything that what they're buying, running and stuff like that. Is that bond a good investment? We do not do that because the threshold and the amount of money to go pay engineers for our assets and stuff like that. We made a decision maybe 10 years ago that we would get out of our bonds and get out of all that accounting. So every time we get this, it's like we're the redheaded stepchild when they do audits like this. So just to give you some background.
There's 2 things. There's 2 audits. That's the tax collector audit that has to be accepted, plus the borough audit, which you don't have a copy of, which I'll be happy to send to anybody who really wants it by email, because printing it out it's in the DCED form, and so it's many pages of nothing. And then a number pops up, so.
So is there a motion for council to accept the tax collector audit report 2019 current and interim real estate fire tax collected and dispersed cash basis for the period March 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019?
Second.
Motion been moved second to accept the tax collector audit report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Animal control.
We have to accept borough audit, it's not
Oh.
on that.
Okay, so is there a motion to also accept the Borough of St. Lawrence general fund audit? It's all funds,
It's all funds.
sewer, everything, so
It's the borough audit.
it's currently available upon request.
Acceptable?
Yeah,
So moved. Second.
Motion to move second. The motion is to accept the Borough of St. Lawrence audit. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Animal control.
okay. Joan reviewed the contract, and I actually didn't even read all your comments because we moved onward. I wasn't happy with the language for the sanctuary. I forget what the
Safety net.
Safety net.
And they were increasing the fees from last year, and you can see from my number of comments, I wasn't happy.
I wasn't happy, and I made comment to her. We donated 1,000 last year, and she came back with a request for 2,000 this year, and she said she was upping Lower Alsace and Alsace to 2,500. And I responded back to her that as a portion of the population, just working with those 3 municipalities, that she was asking us to pay far more money. Plus, it was very open-ended as to what she would be back charging us depending upon what animals she got, and she only got 6 animals in for the year.
There was, you know,
Also, the agreement was very limited as to what they would take in, that we don't have to take in aggressive dogs, whatever that means, we don't, you know, and it was also vague on their, insurance requirement, insurance certificate, so yeah, I agree that there was some.
And there was-
areas that needed to go.
and then to explain the increase, he said, well, you know, my adoption costs are going up higher too, but in my world, that's a whole different cost to her organization. You know, we're not paying to have all these animals adopted, we're just paying for them to be collected, you know? And then everybody's going to a no-kill shelter. So Allison went ahead and pivoted and went back with the Animal Rescue League.
And who has their dollar amounts online. If you go to the end of the financial, you will find, the community cat animal control programs on the first page. If you flip it over, it is, a little spreadsheet showing what they will offer as services. If you do full service, it's $2 per capita. If you do limited service, it's $1 per capita. And then you could do just community cat control, which would be 50 cents per capita. At this point, my recommendation to council is we go to the full-blown $2 per capita. It's the dollar amount can be held to the 1,809, the
Population.
2010 population. So
It's full service, they take mean animals, they take everything.
24/7, 365.
It's a more bolstered effort on our part to control animals in the borough, especially since we've had, public input on concerns that maybe we weren't doing enough. Right.
Much more convenient.
So this is full serve, this is the best you could get.
And they'll tell them.
And I think it'd be well worth the money because they transport.
And they will do community cat control, which we
I was
will
for a
be.
year ago.
Right.
I was for this a year ago.
Well, it's,
So now we got there.
Yes, in
Or did
terms
they
of
get
that.
there?
Do they collect deer?
No,
No.
No, but nobody's going to collect wild animals, particularly.
You think we're
deer.
how many stray horses did we have?
You never know.
So we're looking for council to, look for a motion to accept.
first,
Oh,
we would
When does this
do
start?
to notify the safety net sanctuary that we will not be renewing.
We're not gonna renew, and at the same time, we will be, enrolled in this program with the animal rescue.
Which they do not have their 2021 contract online yet. It's coming.
Right, so what the motion would be then, since the contract hasn't been reviewed, is, it's a motion contingent upon solicitor.
Solicitation, final review of their new contract.
But we have to notify safety net
Now.
that has a 90-day
Notice. So,
Question.
sure.
The difference between the full service and the limited service seems to be the eligible transport and animal holding services for straight domestic cat dogs. Regardless of behavior, medical.
It's the regardless of behavior, which is the,
Kicker for the others.
that is the biggie.
So is it guaranteed service?
24/7.
365, and it's $1,800
Kind of,
to get that.
that's a question mark on.
Well,
Yeah, what does that mean?
I can get further clarification since there's no contract to deal with.
Any other discussion, comments?
Looks like the difference is, one is dogs, one is cats.
What else?
Yeah.
Not a problem.
That's your difference.
Yeah, dogs and cats.
That's what. The second one is just dogs.
Well, the other one's regardless of behavior too, isn't it?
They're both regardless of behavior.
I don't see.
It's eligible, I think that part
Spayed
of,
domestic dogs are regardless of behavior, medical capacity status.
part of what their issue has been with cats is that when they get to capacity, they'll take a contracted over somebody who's not contracted to bring in, but I think that they cannot guarantee space, especially if it is, nobody's gonna take a tip ear cat. That is, those are considered community cats, and you have a handout, and we discussed community cats before, but you have feral cats that aren't tip ear, and to the extent that they have space, which would be my guess, they will deal with that, but I will get clarification from their executive director.
So maybe the difference is that they'll come get them with the full service. And without it, would you take them yourself, possibly?
I think,
Yeah.
the eligible, to me is that is a capacity issue at some point. If
It's a transport, so I imagine that's them coming to get the
Right.
animal versus you having to.
Right, getting it to them
Yeah.
versus they come obtain it.
So the
We're gonna
limited
tip deer
service,
chat, which
she would
is
have
not
to go to
gonna
the.
they
Is that the exception to the tip deer?
Probably.
Showing signs of erratic behavior.
Well, yeah, and they probably would do whatever they needed to do to. But I can make sure that we understand that part.
So is there a motion to provide a 90-day notice of cease of services to our existing Safety Net Sanctuary and enter a tentative agreement based on a final, a contract that is when published by the Animal Rescue League for the, full service animal control at $2 per cow.
Motion.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed. Motion passes. Resolution 836-2020, appointment of conflicts counsel. Many times in professional services, there'll be conflicts between clients. I'll give an example from my company. So for instance, we have a project where one of our clients is a potential responsible party to be determined, the other one may be also. So the problem is if we work for one client and the other one comes up, how do you handle that? A lot of professional services companies have a special conflicts committee, and they try to, thread that needle of how both clients get involved or how they're going to protect interests of both parties. And rarely do you turn down work just because there may be a potential conflict. If there's a true conflict, it's pretty close, but if it's potential, we start throwing on these needles. So we're having that situation here in the borough coming up with some applicants, and where we keep cause all stop on board with them also being on the zoning hearing board, we have a conflict sometimes that they have other clients or stuff like that. So I specifically reached out to Allison to try to find what I call our conflicts counsel. So when these things occur, we already have someone basically in agreement to, and all that stuff just gets thrown down. And typically that's someone that we don't typically see in the borough, or we don't have general knowledge, or they declare, hey, I haven't been with business in the borough for years or something like that. So you found Keith Mooney would be available for that.
And he represents Kutztown, Shoemakersville, and I think Sinking Spring, so he's very familiar with borough issues and borough matters, an excellent firm. So that, I think that would work well with the current Nance situation and others that may come up.
As needed.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
we would then declare the conflict, and then we would, reassign,
If we have another conditional use hearing going forward and it causes a conflict for
Zoning.
staff,
Yeah.
having Jesse Cameron really could cause a conflict if that person would end up having also to go to zoning for any reason, because he's the zoning hearing board solicitor. So we're better off having a totally separate person.
Not related at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, in this case, having Jesse handle the conditional use was perfectly sat, if it had been a variance, it would have sat a zoning hearing board solicitor, so that was not a big deal, but now there may be some additional issues, and, which is why, somebody independent should,
Yeah, it was just my thought, it would be better to have this all set up,
Yeah,
and then as moving forward, you know.
there are no retainer fees or.
His rate is $200 an hour.
When we call.
Well,
Yeah, we assign him,
Don't call
yeah, we assign him work, you know, there's no retained fee or anything like that.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 836-2020, appointing a conflicts counsel, Kate Rudy.
firm of Berks Snyder, yeah.
In the firm, Borough.
So the resolution says.
And there was a second down here? The motion's been made and seconded to approve a conflict solicitor for the borough. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Speed study on Lynn Avenue, preliminary results. Roadmaster, speed.
So in your packet, you should have two sets of data. The first one quantifies when the speed sensor sign is up and showing speeds, all those driving into the sign coming down that. The second set of data was when the speed sign was turned off with spy mode, which means it still recorded the data, but it's telling you how fast they were going.
So it doesn't display, it's still activated and monitoring, just doesn't display the speed for the drop.
As you can see from both sets of data, there seems to be no issue of exceed or excessive speeding. The one chart actually shows the maximum speeds on that road at any given hour interval. And as you can see by that chart graph, 30 miles per hour seems to be the pretty median speed of the maximum range. There should be also a pie chart that shows the percentage of what speed is being traveled on that road. I think it's less than 3% is going over 30 miles per hour. And the average speed on that road seems to be around 22 miles per hour.
The posted is 20, 25?
25.
Ingoing, outgoing, which way is which?
So incoming is towards the sign where it would display your speed. Outgoing would be coming out of Exeter, going up and avenue toward them.
So in general, and years ago, we'd always have people come in and complain about people zooming down, someone's gonna get killed and, you know, all this stuff. And so one of the reasons we went to try to get some of these other devices is to then have data to make decisions. Before we used to just go to the police chief and say, hey, can you do enforcement or do a speed enforcement, something like this. But now this gives us a better idea when questions are asked about what's going on, we actually have data to make decisions.
I will give you a comparative data analysis. I believe last year we had the speed sign on Bingham Street, which we were regularly getting speeds above 70 miles per hour on that road, with average speeds in 40 to 50 mile per hour range. So, comparison to this, it's not nearly that.
Never been to a car accident on that.
Any questions? Any suggestions? Any streets, any council members want to have additional information or anything?
Is it our plan to leave that sign in place?
But we can leave it there. That is if the residents would feel safer with it there, that's fine. We'll do that second one, leave there.
Did we purchase one for that, or did we just?
We had two.
It floats. It floats.
Yeah.
When we find them come up on really good sale, we
How much is the speed study cost you just to get produced?
Oh, so we already bought the sign, so this is free.
This just comes through.
Yeah.
So we can do as we want.
Yeah.
That's about it.
yes.
You got similar data like this for St. Lawrence Avenue.
This is
Well,
long.
that one we got.
It's gonna look
Would council like a monthly report from wherever the speed sensors are?
This is family plastic.
Where you want it on demand?
We
It's up to you guys.
one copy to pass it
And
around.
I went,
That's what we want to expand this much data every month.
and
For all of us.
All right.
we have to, the yellow ones have done-
Oh, that's awesome.
Electronically, it's fine.
Electronically.
This is,
Wait 1 second. Go ahead.
So the speed sign in front of Borough Hall seems to derail people from speeding excessively, because as soon as they come down St. Lawrence Avenue, they see it flash at them, what they're going, and you can see them slow down as they're approaching
And
through here.
Is it correct that over a certain speed, it won't
Yeah.
light up? So
So
people
this
don't
one-
try to see how fast
Yeah,
they're
this one
going.
locks out at 44. The 25 mile an hour locks out at 34.
I want to see if I can do 85.
But it actually records the real.
I'm calibrating my
I thought
speedometer.
it showed up, but it's-
Actually, it's still flagging the slow down mess, but.
But it's not done.
Because we didn't want idiots racing the speed sign.
Okay, so, yeah, so once you go ahead and have it available or email it to Allison, and then people want to see if you can email it out.
And
Are we making that information available to the residents that came in here?
So that should have been on the live stream tonight. We can also publish it on the website if they want to look at the report to see what's going on.
I say just put it on the website and then you're fine.
number 2 issue in streets and lights.
Go ahead.
Are we entering?
Yes.
Yes.
So would you like to report the lights?
Oh, well, that's, Weber Streets and Lights, the quarterly report, the third quarter is also in your packet for all the stuff that happened in the third quarter. And then the Streets and Lights Department, the lights down in Penn Grant have, Meta has received their payment, Rick has installed all the final stuff to get the lights energized. We had to apparently wait for Meta to send us an invoice to pay them, via check.
We have
that they
3K.
energized.
Pre,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
the
so,
check got mailed 2 days ago.
so we are ready to get this done. We are completely absolved of any other move. Get it all headed. They said within 4 to 6 weeks.
And I'm gonna ask our borough manager and engineer to go back into our zoning and to prohibit direct burial cable for any more streetlights, for any more land development projects. This is exactly what happened. This was all built back in 1989, 90 timeframe, which is very common then, you know, so now you see what happens 30 years later, that installation breaks down, stuff like that. We own the problem. So from this point forward, they either have to, I think we should just make sure it's metallic conduit also, not plastic, that it be buried. And that way we have a running chance of being able to pull new wires when you know, we're not, have less problems.
Which is how these were handled in this install. Our biggest culprit is Source Electric.
What? Them hitting stuff or what?
They go in with a trencher and they go.
Just chop it up.
They just chop it up.
Yeah.
We've had, yeah.
All right. Any other questions or anything? We move on to planning commission. Anything to do? Nope. Sanitary sewer? Nothing to report. Trash recycling? All getting picked up? Yeah, recreation resolution 834 Halloween curfew 2020. Is everybody still expecting there's gonna be kids going out in medical masks with regular masks for Halloween? Is that what we're expecting? Or don't know?
I prepared it 2 ways for you. One would be trick or treat being the 2 nights, like we've been doing,
Yeah.
October 30th and 31st, or one for just the 31st of October.
Let's go
So
with
you
it.
were gonna decide, let's
Yeah.
compare it both ways.
I don't know, not being an 8-year-old kid anymore, but I used to love candy. I would suggest the 2 nights in case the weather's bad and we have the curfew in place, and so be whatever happens. Any comments?
Yeah, someone brought up a good point, some people go out one night and stay home the next.
Yeah.
Make a motion forces you to turn on your lights both nights.
Or you don't participate.
Yeah.
The curfew is the September, Saturday, October 17th through and including Sunday, November the 1st. That's the 3 weeks, the 2.5 weeks we did.
Okay.
The timing,
What is the?
9 PM to 6 AM.
Is normally
So
it
normally
is
it's 11,
11.
now it's gonna be 9 for those weeks of following.
Make a motion, we adopt resolution 834 2020, the Halloween curfew with the 2 trick or treat nights.
Second.
Motion moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. Management coordinator, any new report?
Have the new report.
Zoning hearing board, resignation of Lynn Leinbach. So is there a motion to accept the
She
resignation?
wasn't eligible.
of Lynn Leinbach.
Make a motion to accept the resignation of Lynn Weinbach with our thanks for her service.
I'll second that. Motion been moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion passes. Appointment of Kristen Livingood, resolution 835-2020, and when will her term on the zoning hearing board expire?
It expires on, she was just appointed in December, so it expires December of 2022. So she'll fulfill the term that was Lynn's term.
And when does Lynn's term?
That is.
Oh, that's when, oh, see, that's good. So then there will still be another,
There's a new one that gets renewed every year.
Yeah.
So Lynn was just renewed, so she'll fulfill the rest of that term.
all right? Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt resolution 835/2020, appointing Kristen Livingood to fill out the unexpired term of Lynn Linebaugh.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded for the appointment of Kristen Livingood. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. Mr. Lands, anything?
I want to say a public word of commending Warren and Derek and whoever else has been active in the mitigation of Olympus trees. I was on Mount Penn a couple of weeks ago where those trees are everywhere and they're covered with lanternflies. Your car is then covered with lanternflies. If you open your mouth to breathe.
Oh, how great taste.
But I think Juan, Derek, and others who've been trying to eliminate them as much as possible from the borough have also helped to keep down the pest problem of lanternflies. So I'm going to say thank you for all these efforts.
Thank you.
Can we buy like one of those big giant lanternflies, paper mache, like on Etsy or something? Put it on the truck?
No.
Anything for insurance? Newsletter committee. Is the newsletter going to come out to address all the Halloween stuff and everything?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's in my mind at the moment.
Conceptually, information. Library liaison, anything new, Reverend, with the library group?
They're still on the curbside mode. They're looking to move now to the next phase, which would be to open the lobby for people to pick up pre-ordered materials. I have a couple of public computers available for people who need that for internet on a pre-scheduled basis, but they're not quite there yet.
Got it. Sounds pretty reasonable. Your manager report, anything to report?
Yes, it's been already.
Public Works, anything else than what's in your report for streets and things?
That's it.
All right.
I need some new shirts.
He has them.
I use it slow.
He's frugal.
All right.
Unfinished business, anything?
Last meeting, we did talk about fireworks, and you were going to look at whether there's other communities with ordinances.
Yes.
And I don't know if you had a chance to do that. And another question I have on it is, with the state, is there, with their regulations, are there fines, everything associated with violations?
What I can tell you is, first of all, that one community in our area, in the Lehigh Valley, Bethlehem Township, recently adopted an ordinance only allowing the use of fireworks around certain holidays. They include New Year's Eve and early on New Year's Day, July 4th, Memorial Day, and I think a couple of other holidays for very limited periods of time. There was legislation that was introduced, but it has not gotten anywhere. Allison, I think I'd sent you that legislation that had been proposed, but it is in committee, and I doubt that it's going to get anywhere this year. But some municipalities have adopted ordinances limiting the use of fireworks and fining individuals for unlawful use of fireworks.
But within the state laws, is there, if the police see somebody violating it, are there fines defined in the state law that they can then go and, is there a penalty?
I believe that improper use of fireworks, for example, outside of 150 feet, is a summary criminal offense.
Okay.
And and also if there is actual damage, then there are more serious crimes that can be associated with that.
Because I this past weekend on Friday and Saturday night, for like 20 minutes, somebody was putting on, I don't know if it was in the borough, I believe so, it was down St. Lawrence Avenue direction from my house.
Yeah, it was over behind the 3800 block or 3700 block.
Yeah.
And he was also back on 4th of July. No, I did not call, but there, the individual that lives at the corner of Levan, or not the open lot, the next house in on Levan and St. Lawrence Avenue, and up in Marywood, I think on the other side of Sidle, they were just relentless.
Right.
And they were well within the 150 feet because they're launching out of somebody's backyard.
Right. What I
I'm
would-
surprised at the lack of enforcement.
Yeah, what I would say in most boroughs, there, and in any city, there's probably very few, if any, properties that can meet that 150-foot clear space radius between cars and houses and other occupied structures. There's almost no way that in a more densely populated city or borough that you could legally use fireworks under the state law that requires at least 150-foot radius of clear space. In townships, in the rural areas of certain townships, you could, if you had a large property, for example, you could absolutely do it. But here there is, I don't see any property that I know of where.
Warren, do you think it's warrants if we ask the chief, have the mayor ask the chief to maybe do a little community outreach in 2 hotspot areas? Of any available there, either make a little card or even actually go
Oh,
out?
certainly,
You
there
think
were
that'd be
2
worthwhile?
nights, there were 2
Yeah.
nights, Friday and Saturday night, that went on for a good 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they sounded as though they were coming from the same
Area.
area, very, very close.
It's in the 37 to 300 block in the backyard.
That,
Yeah.
that, you know, certainly be aware of that and perhaps have at dusk on holidays, have a car go by there and.
So Mayor, would you go ahead and connect with the chief, ask him to do a bit, maybe outreach in that area or additional scrutiny at dusk or dark in those 2 areas, and see if that helps out.
I mean, it's on
Yeah.
holiday weekends.
Yeah.
Probably won't have.
I was wondering if there's like a gender reveal party or something like that.
Did Warren, did the one property we have an issue with, did
They were,
Towing the line.
I've not seen any large amounts of, I've heard an occasional boom, but not 20 minutes worth of,
So if anybody can identify
right.
the properties, the same letter that went to that home will
Right.
go to the other ones.
If we know what the property is.
If we know what the property is, because it's a generic letter that just says,
Well, we have to, we can blanket, 10 a circle of properties, how's that?
I just need that.
Yeah, just an area.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
somebody could tell you the address. I mean, that's what I did that time, like,
All right, we'll work on that too. Any other unfinished business? New business, resolution 837-2020, destruction of municipal records. We received a list of all the records that need to be destructed. Yeah. Does anybody have any concerns or issues? Otherwise,
I saw a lot of them were sewer related.
Yeah.
Is any of that, it didn't look like it was anything we'd need for future reference.
It's all basically administrative.
Yeah.
Right, and most of those need to be kept no longer than 3 to 7 years. The only thing related to sewer that I could see needing to be kept are organizational type documents, minutes, resolutions, any type of articles or any type of loan documents until the debt service is paid, tax returns, 7 years. So they're really, in most cases, from what I didn't see this list, but from what I saw the last time, most of it.
A lot of it was deposits from the water company.
Yeah.
Right.
Deposits that were sewer.
Right, those don't need to be retained more than a couple of years.
So is there a motion to adopt resolution 837-2020, destruction of municipal records, based on the list of the records dated 9/10/20?
So moved.
Second.
Motion moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Any other general comments of council or items of interest?
Yes.
We'll start over here first. Go ahead.
I happened to talk to, I believe she's the president of the women's club.
Go ahead.
Cheryl Lake Strike?
Yes.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's a different time now with, at election time and how they conduct their, I think they sell soup and sandwiches.
Mhm.
And, they would like to, have a safer sale and an additional sale, coffee, donuts, sell their sandwiches, sell their soup. Should it be a nice day, they would like to set up a little canopy out in the grass, I think to the left of
We
your
already
truck.
talked about this.
She didn't know she could come here tonight. I did tell her it was available.
I already told her, you know.
She asked me to convey. They'd like to do that, wear a mask, have sanitizer, be a little bit more accessible. Again, sell the coffee and donuts, which they weren't selling before. And
I still would say no, because part of the issue we have is this parking lot fills up, and we want to get people in and out and not stopping to purchase goods or anything else along those lines, because this parking lot is going to be full with this election. There are a lot of people who have stated that they do not plan to do a mail-in ballot, they plan to come in to vote. And we need to be able to move them through. I explained that they were welcome to set up a playground, that this election is one that it's up to council, but we've had issues before and we need to keep people moving in and out of this parking lot to allow as many people in to vote that doesn't cause a backup.
so on a typical election, how many people do we have? I understand this one may be a little bit more.
I don't know, you usually see something like 300 votes, 400 votes out the total. That's a pretty good election. I mean, on some of the primaries, I see 200 votes on the election totals posted.
On the presidential
Elections, 4 to 6 maybe.
I worked the last presidential election and there was almost 1,000 people that were here.
That's a lot, 50%, it's pretty high.
That's actually more than 50% of the borough.
Yeah, because it's eligible voters, correct. Yeah, so, it's up to council, any comments?
If there's a way of supporting them, I'd like to do that.
Yeah. If, you know,
What's the difference if it wasn't for the fact of the coronavirus, they would be upstairs doing it?
No, actually, both parties were told for this election cycle that they could not be in the building because of parking and because we can't.
Well, yeah, they did it every other presidential election. So, I mean, I've been coming here for I don't know how many years, and they've been upstairs selling soup and sandwiches for every election for as long as I can remember.
and, yeah. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah.
Do you think there's someplace in the parking lot, or you want to give them the?
No, I wouldn't use a parking spaces. They were talking about setting it up on the grassy area, not using any parking spaces. And, you know, Allison's concern is it would take up parking. They'll spend more time in a parking stall because of spending time.
Turnover will be slowed down.
And I would suggest also that being outside, they vote, they go outside, they buy something, and they get in their car, rather than going upstairs and, you know, spending time going upstairs and coming back down and stuff.
So do you want to make a list of the arrangements? A, they have to be somewhere in the grass. B, none of their vehicles could be in the parking lot.
That's fine.
You know, what's that?
Definitely don't take a.
Yeah.
This election is not a time for socializing.
Right.
This is, do your duty and.
I vote absentee almost on everything. I'm never here on election day, so I don't have a real good feel of this. So, you know, you all figure out what you think's fair or what's reasonable to the civic organizations. So
Well, I personally feel that I think we should do something to support them. I think you're talking maybe a couple of minutes for somebody who either shops before they vote or shops after they vote. They're gonna get their stuff, they're gonna put it in their car, they're gonna vote, they're gonna get their stuff, they're gonna get in their car, they're gonna go out.
And a lot of it is pre-sale.
Oh, they have an app, they have a, like,
No,
It's
people order.
80% pre-sales.
Yeah.
We talked about that board meeting.
So you-
80% pre-sale.
So you
oh, so
order,
people just
Some
pick it
people just go and
up.
they give me my
Order,
my order, and they give me their order.
like Chick-fil-A, they come running out and it's on the tray. And they're gonna take
and I think she said you're talking to a couple few people, again, mask, hand sanitizer, you know, and the coffee and donuts thing, maybe it adds some additional revenue for them. And not debate council, but it's their intention, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that they want to donate some money back to the playground program, or the money back to the playground program. I'm not exactly.
Every year they give it to us.
So,
Do they intend to do this no contact?
what's your definition of no contact? If somebody
it. Like
pre-orders,
on a tray.
I've never pre-ordered. I was went upstairs and if they had something I bought, if they were out, which they usually were.
I'm sure they'll have gloves on.
Yes.
Or it's married to.
If the stuff is pre-ordered and they bag it, there's your bag.
So where in the grass would they be, furthest downhill?
I think right where Derek parks the truck, that little grass strip right there.
I'll say one right there.
It's accessible by the sidewalk, you know, it keeps people from maybe walking across the parking lot. She didn't say that, that's my assumption.
What's the flow of people? I know the last.
We tried to have the people leave here, go down and cross over in that spot,
Is there enough?
back into the parking lot.
Oh, so it's entrance and exit, right?
Yeah,
This was
entrance,
entrance.
entrance here, exit out, so that way they would get, you
So
know, if
that they
anybody
would
parked
have
back here,
to
someone would be
back
walking by.
Down the sidewalk and go.
I was gonna say, if they would be better or worse.
Well, if they're down there, they have to walk past them anyhow to get to the parking lot.
It's a parking lot down
The problem up here is the site distance pulling out from Berks Street. They're here at 10.
there. Okay.
Right,
I'm just asking.
yeah, you don't want to
That's
be
not-
blocking the site distance.
Just trying.
And
So if our-
would they be, I mean, I don't know, would they be willing if things start getting really backed up? Would they be willing to say, we're not, you know, we don't have any walk-ups available, it's all pickup only? To encourage the turnover.
What'd you say, Susan, 80% or pre-order?
Yeah, 80% pre-order.
Yes,
So-
You're not a
but
very
who's
timely,
picking
you know.
up? Have
That means
people
you-
that
People
are
that
not,
don't live here.
that are in the borough would be pulling in to pick up into the parking lot.
I don't know.
Well, all the
I
sandwiches are
don't
pre-made,
usually,
right?
I'm not usually here when there's.
Yeah, it's all pre-made.
It's all pre-made. So whether I pre-ordered it or I'm leaving the building, hey, you got 2 extra sandwiches, here's your money, here are my sandwiches. Was it take an additional 30 seconds?
You also have the people coming to pick up the pre-orders.
That would be quicker,
Throughout the
right?
day.
That would be quicker, right?
They're gonna pull in the parking lot,
Well, if they're gonna be here to vote, they're gonna be in the parking lot anyhow.
they're out in the borough.
But if they're not here to vote, the autumn part.
Okay, I'm specifically talking about people that are coming here to vote. I understand taking up additional parking spaces, but
I'm
we're
talking about
talking
people.
a couple minutes here, you know? I don't think anybody's coming to St. Lawrence Borough Hall that doesn't live in the borough, that's coming to hang out after.
No, they're coming to pick up their
They're coming to
pre-orders.
pick up their pre-orders, but I don't think they're gonna be hanging out in the grass there, shooting the breeze.
You don't think so? Oh,
Well,
okay.
we could actually make that part of the criteria. You get your order, whether you pre-ordered it or you're a walk-up, and.
Yeah, no.
Listen, I don't wanna put constraints on here, we can't monitor or get in a fight with the ladies club in the middle of their food thing.
Well, if you
So
get
we
this
either
access
agree-
to the Ladies Club, I don't know.
Well, so we either agree they sit up here, they don't park in here, we suggest they try to move people along and agree or not agree. I think it's, we have to keep it pretty simple.
I think they can,
So-
we can tell them, please suggest to the people,
No
gather, you know,
no.
So,
not to be rude, but here's your food, please, please leave, you know.
so we're looking to have a motion from council. There will be agreement that the St. Lawrence Ladies Club can in fact have their annual fundraiser on election day. If they agree to put their 8x10 tent near where the truck normally parks in the grass, they minimize that they don't park, any of their stand attendees don't park in the parking lot, and that they try to make sure there's a constant movement of people and there's not an accumulation. And they follow all the rest of the CDC guidelines for such.
There's one other detail,
Okay.
and I think Allison had told her she had to talk to the Director wants. His last name Howard. Okay, she did talk to her about this, and she did, that woman has no problem with that.
Well, yeah, they can't have any advertisements, they can't do anything else.
I know that.
That's right.
She followed your
Are
instruction.
they coming in the night before to make sandwiches upstairs?
They asked me to ask, we said that, they said it was only gonna be 4 people, so.
And everything was fine with the, having the setup in here and having them upstairs working?
Yes.
She
Okay.
did say, she said that you recommended she do that, she did that.
Where are they gonna store their sandwiches? Are they coming in and out of the
That was
building?
their intention was to put it in the refrigerator, so they're not putting in the morning to get them.
Are they gonna take them all out, or are they gonna be in and out getting sandwiches all day?
I think they have to get coolers and take them out, so if not, we're just gonna be coming in and out.
Where's the
I don't
refrigerator?
know. Upstairs.
They would have to require them to take coolers down there.
I would think that they don't have to be coming in. and out.
So-
they got access.
So our 3 conditions, the condition number 4 is they can use upstairs for food prep the night before. By the time the poll opens the next day, all the food's gotta be out of the borough, there will be no more interaction for food storage in the borough, is that what I hear you saying? Is condition 5? All right,
What happens if we get a call from the county during the day?
Then the constable will kick them out.
Constable isn't here.
Well, we don't respond to the poll, that's up to the county election officials and constable,
Complaints tend to be for electioneering,
not for.
Well, last time it was,
yeah, I mean, because,
the only complaint. we had
yeah.
was-
But I doubt that election services would really.
We don't have any enforcement within the polling location.
Yeah, I mean, it's just when somebody is electioneering outside of or inside of the polling place or too close to the polling place, that tends
So-
to be the.
So based on those 5 conditions, which I hope Susan has written down,
I had a food prep the night before, let's take the food down by the.
open polling, when it says polls open, the expectation food's out, no more coming in the building, to get any supplies or anything like that.
So no parking in the lot, what else was it?
Where it was gonna be located, they can't park in the lot, and, they try to move people, expedite movement and follow CDC guidelines. Does that sound reasonable?
Do you think they could use the bathroom if they had to?
I didn't exclude that, so I was leaving that in, because I figured that's worth it, so,
I'll put it in the letter for you.
okay. So is there a motion with those conditions for that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to let the St. Lawrence Ladies Club have their annual fundraiser during election day. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? I will abstain because I really don't have any issue on this, and
You're not gonna be-
I'm not going to be here.
Going that way.
So that's so moved. Any other items?
Just following through with that, my assumption would be is the borough's truck will not be in the parking lot and employees' cars will not be in the parking lot.
We won't be here. The truck's over at the.
And the
Yeah,
other
it's
stuff,
right,
Yeah, but they tend to get out of the parking lot because of the.
the stuff in the lower parking lot will be gone.
Do we require that the people doing the election not park in the parking lot?
We don't
Yeah,
have.
workers, we tell them they need to park out the lot.
That's
We
what I
asked
thought.
them to park.
That's fair.
I thought I remembered.
The average age of the poll workers is like 81. We can't, make them walk so far. Come on.
Well, it's not quite that. The oldest one is 79.
Other items, currently we have a delinquent for farm tax fund of 5 persons. Darrow Cuesta for $63.62. Edward Drubruska for $122.91. Daniel Grubb for $47.40. Carrie McCarthy, $66.99. And Valerie Pence for $72.78. This will total $373.62. What we'd like to do is start the delinquent procedure where they get a certified letter warning. They got 30 days to pay, otherwise we're gonna lien the property. This is what we do for anything that's owed to the borough, even despite the cost of lien will be more than what the cost of this is. Then within 10 days of payment due, they will get a regular first class letter saying liens are coming. And if they call and have any type of payment promise, that gets tend to be accepted. There's no,
As long as they follow.
as long as they follow up. So, but council is in previous, delinquent accounts, needs council approval for that procedure. For those accounts,
Is there any escalation of the amount they have to pay once we put a lien on?
Yes.
yeah, it gets interest
There's
rate.
a-
Recover some of the
Interest
lien
rate,
costs?
because
Yeah.
under ordinances for municipal liens.
It's a monthly interest rate that goes on the first day of the month. But with this, we're adding the 25 charge for the pre-lien letter. There were 8 letters that went out even before this, telling people that this process was gonna take place, that if they could call, they could talk, they could do whatever. We've sent that all along, partial.
Yeah, I think it's a
accepted.
fair notification process. I think it's a fair process. I'm sure no one wants to have a lien on a property, but, you know, we have to be fiduciary with all the citizens, and I think we can be consistent.
Make a motion, we start the first process with the aforementioned properties.
Delinquent procedure
Delinquent procedure.
for the fire tax fund. Second? Motion moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Incoming outgoing business. I have one item I'd like to go into executive session, talk to council.
I had one.
Oh, I'm sorry, you did, it's true.
Last week we talked about a potential ordinance for signing or addressing
We're,
is that off the table?
it's not off the table. We're trying to come to a conclusion on how, where, and size of numbering,
I remember we had said we'd talk about it more.
especially in the alleys, and we've been a little busy the last month to try and come up with solutions, because if we go onto the back of some of the properties, especially like Borough Way, or in some of the alleys and the houses are a mile away from, I don't know, 3-inch letters may not be large enough to even see, so there may be some other stuff that we want to make sure we have the language in.
Like the first time.
Yes,
You have a
So-
draft of.
I have a draft of it.
And
So we'll look for a progress report on that at our next meeting.
I was just curious.
Good.
yeah, because we've been trying to throw stuff back and forth.
So as I mentioned that, oh, sorry, another item of interest.
Well, I was gonna ask you what your.
It's a litigation, potential litigation problem. So is there a motion to go into executive session? I don't think we're gonna have any action afterwards, and we'll shut off the Zoom, and all we need is the solicitor back, tied your feelings. So.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation.
Second.
Motion been moved second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Want to take a quick 3-minute break?